Okay, hi everyone. So, of course, you can watch this on your own. And so, I just to comment in terms of what we've seen of course, since the development of the uh, International Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, is that it has a special status in international law because of its role its institutionalized role it's acquired in facilitating the negotiations over treatment of prisoners of war, communications for prisoners of war, the exchange of prisoners of war. So they are an organization, since they're very old, they have often explicit references in international treaties to the International Red Cross and Red Crescent societies because of that role. Now, so they're supposed to be autonomous and independent, and they also tend to be discreet and cautious in their public statements because the International Red Cross is supposed to be trusted, right? It's supposed to be a neutral interlocutor, a mediator, a communicator, as perceived by all the combatants in a conflict. All the different warring states in a conflict are supposed to ideally see the ICRC as not biased towards one side or the other. So that means the ICRC, the International Committee for the Red Cross and Red Crescent, it tends to be a cautious, quiet, discreet organization, which you can understand why, right? Because they're supposed to facilitate communication between two countries at war. But that's also been a source of well, everything's a focus of criticism in this world. So yeah, they've been criticized for being too cautious and too discreet because self-styled activists who want to do more and we're proactive for dealing with addressing the sources of the conflicts that produce all this carnage and suffering. They're saying, we have to be more proactive in addressing the sources of the conflict and maybe even taking sides in conflicts that are causing this suffering. And so out of that, I think I have here, if I go let's just go to Wikipedia rather than me move around a lot, to go to share screen and go to Wikipedia here. And you can see if I type in Doctors Without Borders is a famous organization which also is known in his French, more often in his French name, Médecins Sans Frontières, which was founded by ICRC personnel who wanted to be more proactive in raising the profile of conflicts, the causes of conflicts, and mobilize the international community to address the causes of conflicts that produce this suffering, while also intervening to ameliorate and lessen the suffering. So you can see it's not nearly as old as the ICRC, but you hear a lot about this organization. I mean, its name comes up, so often mentioned in French, even in the English language media, Médecins Sans Frontières or the Doctors Without Borders, that is active with a lot of personnel. You can read the descriptions here in Wikipedia, but I just wanted to mention that it was formed partly in response to the unhappiness with the caution and discreetness of the ICRC. So, and so you'll hear a lot about this organization because it's well known. If I type in ICRC, what comes up here? ICRC, of course, Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement. So here you can see the entry in Wikipedia for the ICRC, and there you see that's the symbol for Israel's ICRC. It's not really a 6-pointed star, as I might have said before, but it is something separate from the traditional Christian and Muslim symbols. And so you can read about the foundation of this organization, and it's in the news a lot because there is a North Korean Red Cross. North Korea. Let me see if I type North Korea Red Cross. And you can see here, yeah, here is the Wikipedia entry for the Red Cross Society of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And the reason I mention is because it still exists formally. These organizations, these chapters within different countries of the ICRC, they're supposed to be independent and autonomous. They're not supposed to be seen as working for any particular government or aiding any particular government in a conflict. So, but you need, of course, a Ukrainian Red Cross and a Russian Red Cross, ideally, so that those two chapters can communicate together in Ukraine and in Russia with each other to facilitate, for example, the exchange of prisoners of war, the exchange of communications between for prisoners of war, so that to take messages from Ukrainian families whose members have been taken prisoner as prisoners of war in Russia, to send messages to them. So they're based in each nation. Each state has a chapter, but the chapter is not supposed to be seen as serving the interests of the government in terms of the conflict that's underway between those conflicting parties, those states at war with each other. You understand? Having said that, we know, of course, that the Red Cross of North Korea is probably not independent and autonomous from the Pyongyang government, but it still exists, and it still, for example, I think has responsibility for manning the hotline, the telephone connection between North and South Korea, in order to lessen the potential of conflict escalation if there's an incident on the border. So it does exist, and it still comes up every once in a while because it does play a role in working with the international community, international organizations, non-governmental organizations, and the United Nations in humanitarian relief work in North Korea. Let me see what comes up with Russian Red Cross. There's been reports, however, that of course Russia had a Red Cross, had a long history of a Red Cross society, and because Russia's been at war in Europe for a long time. But there's been reports recently about how Vladimir Putin's government has moved basically to take informal control over the Russian Red Cross Society. So, and that's unfortunate, but that's what's happening, particularly when it's active. The Russian Red Cross is active, for example, in the territories that Russia claims in Ukraine. And so they are under de facto domination or control by the Russian government. But it has an old history, right? It was established in the 19th century in the Russian Empire. So okay, so let's see, what else do I want to cover here on the lesson plan? So we go back to the lesson plan and make sure I'm sharing the right screen. So go here and the lesson plan here, and you can see we covered universal jurisdiction in our last class. Also, what else is in the news these days? Well, here's the news report from today's news report. And of course, I've got to wait for this thing to get through the skip.
Professor, the computer audio isn't playing?
Sir, I cannot hear the audio when you're sharing the screen.
You can't see the screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen, but I cannot hear the audio when you're sharing our videos.
Just a second. I don't know. Could anybody else not hear that? Could you not hear what I was showing you?
I couldn't hear anything.
Okay, that's strange. I don't know what to make of that. The introduction, when I was showing you the introduction video, could you hear that? The video on the
No,
ICRC, you
no,
couldn't
Couldn't
hear
hear
it.
it
that.
wasn't audible either.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a new computer and it does strange things. So, well, unfamiliar things to me. Okay, well, this is a short class, so I'm not going to. Basically, I was just showing you how the United States vetoed the latest United Nations Security Council resolution calling for immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And that was yesterday. The United States vetoed it. The vote was 14 in favor, one opposed, and that opposition was the United States. South Korea voted for it, right? So, I mean, as the world talks about genocide underway in Gaza, the United States vetoed the resolution. So, again, further evidence that the Trump administration, this is a big problem. I mean, they had a chance. Britain voted for it, Russia voted for it, China voted for it, France voted for it, South Korea voted for it. The United States vetoed it. So, this is further evidence, obviously, not only of an existential threat to the Gaza people, but also more evidence of the United States' actions show that it's abandoned its concerns for humanitarian well-being, particularly about anybody, Ukrainians and anybody else. And so I should also mention further evidence of that is the fact that thousands of people have already died since the United States stopped the United States aids international development programs that have been underway for many years, including, for example, PrEPFAR. PrEPFAR is is an organization in the is a program in the United States that was adopted by the Bush administration, George W. Bush administration, to fight AIDS in Africa. So this was part of USAID. Let me see, make sure you can see this. So PrEPFAR, here you can see it here. This was part of USAID. This was considered to be a really successful program. It was started, it saved over 25 million lives. So this began, again, 22 years ago under George W. Bush to provide, medicines and other programs to stop and contain the spread of HIV/AIDS in Africa. And, for the price of, two 100 won coins, children, for example, were getting antiviral medicines that stopped the HIV/AIDS infection from having any symptoms, having an effect. But they had to get this treatment every day. It only cost 12 US cents, or like 200 won, right? 2 coins. And that's been cut off since United States began cutting and abolishing USAID programs. And there are estimates that already thousands of people that were getting these drugs have died because they didn't get the medicines. And so that meant the symptoms of HIV/AIDS infection emerged, and their immune systems collapsed, and they got some other disease because their immune system wasn't working, and they died from it. So this administration, it doesn't care, and its base doesn't care. It's an authoritarian populist movement, right? That the lives of Black and brown people, they don't matter. So, so just to show you what's going on here. So again, let's And of course, the Trump administration denies that's happened, right? The new Marco Rubio, Secretary Marco Rubio, denied that this is happening, that this is people are dying. He says that the lie. And then the New York Times did a study. He said, no, we know people that have died since they no longer receive those medicines because they got infections and they died. So, and they can calculate the number. And so, unless something has happened since these New York Times reports came out, um, uh, like because the Trump administration is always concerned about bad public relations, public support. I mean, their public opinion, right? But it's pretty bad situation. So anyway, because again, look at what they do. They have rhetoric, but look at what the policies that they actually follow. What did they actually do? And as Gazans are threatened with starvation, they vetoed the latest resolution to call for ceasefire. So anyway, so they can get the aid in. All right, but okay, this is our short class, so we don't have too much time, and we have two students that are participating in the debate. So we need to go back to our content for today. And I have a lot of. Here's the. I think I forgot to mention it. I showed it to you last class. This is again from Ukrainian media, so it's subject to potentially being biased. But of course, this is the report that I forgot to show you last class about how, for example, the systematic torture, gross systematic torture of Ukrainian POWs, which of course is against the Geneva Conventions, going back to the beginning in the and again, just to show you how bad the situation that the Europeans and the world faces in Ukraine, as the Trump administration apparently is willing to decouple itself from European security concerns. So, so I didn't point that out. I did post the article on Cyber Campus on Wednesday, but just to show you, the point that I was making here. But okay, so let's go then to the notes. And again, we want to make sure we have enough time for the debate because we have two students, so I can't just reduce my time speaking because because I'm not debating this time. So we go back to the lesson plan, and the lesson plan is here. Pro or con following: to CUK students, religion can just as readily be used to justify war crimes and crimes against humanity as it can be used to lessen international crimes. So religion is irrelevant today to the international law. And so I think I have to stop share again, and this time I have to let me see. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. So let me allow Cosette to share the screen. Oh, I guess it just. Oh, okay. So you can share. So I've made it available. So Cosette, if you want to share, open up your PowerPoint presentation that you sent to me just in case. But if you want to open it up, you should be able to share that with everybody else. Do you know how to do that?
Yeah, I can try right now. Hold on.
You might want to turn on your camera too, please.
Oh yes, of course. Hold on. Yes.
Okay. And you can then share your PDF file or PowerPoint or whatever you have. If you open it first, right? And then you share it.
Can you see it?
Not yet. You can share screen. You can see the green button at the bottom, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you've opened up your file, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so click on it. Click on your file so that it's active. So the file is active. Then click on share screen, and it should pop up as an option available to you. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not allowed in my system settings on my computer, so I don't know how to do it.
You say there's a problem on your computer. It should work.
Yes, but my settings aren't allowing it, so I need to find it in my settings of my computer.
That's strange. Okay, do you want me to just open up the file that you sent me? I mean, I would like you to get practice in doing this because, this is all part of, everybody does video conferences sooner or later, aside from pandemics. So that's why I thought it might be good if you could do that. But if you just want to go ahead and move to the file you sent me, I can open it up and then you can just tell me to move forward if necessary
Yeah,
when it's your
that's
turn. So let me find the file here. And did I put it in the wrong folder? I'm wondering if I put it in. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so let me go here and then go to share, and there you see the screen.
yes.
Okay. Okay, you can start and just tell me when
Okay.
to move the screen.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so today I will start the debate about the statement religion can just as readily be used to justify war crimes and crimes against humanity as it can be used to lessen international crimes. So religion is irrelevant today to international law. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout history, religion has served as a banner under which humanity has committed both acts of profound compassion and unspeakable atrocities. From the Crusades to the Inquisition to 9/11, even the Rwandan genocide, religious justifications have been used to sanctify violence. If you could go to the next slide, please. Today, we are also not free from that legacy because religious motivated extremism continues to haunt our world. In Europe alone, the threat of jihadist terrorism remains alarmingly high. The 2024 European terrorism situation and also the trend report, they confirm that religious inspired plots are not only real, but they are also increasingly transnational. In France, in Belgium, in the UK, they have all raised their threat levels due to religion fueled ideologies. In early 2024, the Belgian authorities they arrested individuals connected to a suspected religious extremist plot, once again forcing the nation to raise its terror alert. And the articles that you see on the screen, my apologies, they're in Dutch, but they are news articles that have been published in the Belgian papers about terrorist attacks or suspicious activities that have to do with terrorism. There's also been an analysis in 2023 by the US Military Academy that underscores this trend. It warns that the jihadist leaders, they urge Muslims to reject Western concepts like democracy and human rights, calling them deceptive traps designed to paralyze jihad. So this proves that religion is not a steady guide. It can be used to promote peace, but it can also justify destruction. So that volatility makes a poor foundation to international law. So for this reason and others that will follow, I firmly am in support of today's resolution that religion is irrelevant to international law. And not because it's always wrong, but because it is inconsistent, it is manipulable, and it is also inherently subjective. So to defend this position, next slide, please. I uphold the value of justice. So, justice is the ethical, philosophical idea that people are to be treated impartially, fairly, properly, and reasonably by the law and arbiters of the law. That laws are to ensure that no harm befalls another, and that where harm is alleged, a remedial action is taken. Both the accuser and the accused receive a morally right consequence merited by their actions. International law must be universal, enforceable, and neutral, and religion is none of these things. So now I will present three contentions. The first one being religion is easily manipulated. Religion is flexible. It is, and that is precisely the problem. It can mean peace to one person, and it can mean holy war to another person. It could be interpreted to be to bless acts of charity or acts of mass violence. So there's no global consensus on what exactly religion says, and its teachings they shift across time, across geography, denomination, which makes it incredibly easy for the bad actors to twist religious texts to justify their crimes, especially war crimes. So history provides endless examples, but so does today's news. The second contention is that religion undermines universality. International law demands shared norms, so it must work across borders, regardless of culture or creed. So religion, however, is particular. It's rooted in specific beliefs, not universally held. So what Christianity calls sin, Islam may call duty, what Judaism forbids, Buddhism may ignore. So when you base law on religion, whose religion wins? And the very idea of universal justice collapses if the rules depend on belief systems that not everyone shares or even respects. My third contention is that religious interpretation creates legal chaos. Law must be consistent and clear, and religion is not. So sacred texts, they do not change, but interpretation do, and they do so wildly and often. So this interpretive chaos is the opposite to law, which depends on stable, clear, secular reasoning and not kind of mystery. And it's ongoing today, just like I mentioned before, terrorism in Europe. In 2024, the Belgian's federal threat level was elevated again. They're at 3 out of 4 right now due to religiously motivated terrorist plots. So these are not bad interpretations. They are direct uses of religion as a tool to justify crime, proving the very danger of blending faith with legal authority. So if I return to the central question, can religion serve as a reliable foundation for international law? No, because it is inconsistent across borders and belief. It is vulnerable to abuse, and it erodes the universality that international law depends on. So while religion may be spiritually meaningful to billions of people, it is legally irrelevant in shaping global justice. So for the sake of fair, enforceable, and universal law, I strongly urge an affirmative vote. Thank you.
Who has an extra credit question that they would like to ask? They would like to ask of Pro at this time. Oh, we have a question. We have a question. And that is from E. Min Young. Mr. E, go ahead and ask your question.
So while I do believe the consci will also bring up this point, I wanted to ask that I think I personally think that the fact that religion can be used as an excuse to commit war crimes and such is a point for considering it in international law, because if the goal of international law is to reduce violence and human rights violations, then it it would be better to fully comprehend and understand and consider one of its major factors, that being religion, would it not?
I mean, it's important to take it into consideration, but I think you also have to understand that religion is part of also like culture, which is local, but law is global. And just like I mentioned before, like people will also have like different values due to their religion. So I think you can't mix that with law because because I think law must be neutral and you can't like I don't know. I don't think like religion itself is the problem. It's just the inconsistency and the subjectivity and the misuse that gets taken into it. And law cannot afford ambiguity. I think it must be based on what is enforceable and not what is like interpreted, debated, or believed. I think.
Next question. Who else will ask an extra credit question to Pro? Oh, we have another question. Oh, okay. And it is Mr. Lee Do-hyun.
Right. You mentioned that legal interpretation of religion can cause chaos, and I think that religion is something that plays a key role in shaping of the human culture and minds. Um, and then laws, including international law, should find ways to adapt that shaping of human mind and culture. Um, so to say, religion should be interpreted in legal sense, and though it might can cause chaos, I think that's something necessary. And I was wondering, how do you think that lawmaking entities, lawmakers or authorities can, um, what do you think they should do to minimize that chaos and find a better way?
What they can do? Honestly, I don't know because right now, the state right now in Europe, like what's happening now, I don't know what they can do to like get rid of that, because terrorism has been like a part in Europe for a while now. I just think I think it's like a dangerous kind of, it can be dangerous, but I also understand that it's part of culture, it's important. But honestly, I don't know what they can do.
Do you have a suggestion, Mr. Lee Do-hyun?
Um, I don't know either, but I think there might be some kind of commission where leaders of various religions gather to talk.
I think they do that. I mean, when the Pope's, what do you want to call it, inauguration? I mean, there was all sorts of religious people, and they were there when they tried to offer to meet up Zelensky to meet Trump, and the Leo keeps talking about offering Rome as a venue for discussions, and Giorgia Meloni's prime minister has also said that. So yeah, I think they do try to. I don't know if, in terms of religious, the closest thing I recall is when Pope Benedict. He was a smart guy, but he wasn't very politically astute. He made some comments that were interpreted as kind of offensive to Islam. So then he went to Istanbul and prayed in a mosque, and prayed like a Muslim. He went like this, and everybody was like, along with the Grand Mufti of the mosque, right? And everybody was, that's really impressive. Benedict was, communicating with the Muslims, and that might make an impact. If he's not talking to just other Christians. So, Isabella, anybody else? Isabella will now make her opening statement.
Okay, so I'm kind of nervous. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm here to show a point of view that religion still matters in modern international law or international affairs. Because, first of all, human rights did not emerge from a moral void. I believe that the development of human rights are very interrelated with religious views, especially religious sayings about compassion, dignity, and human like emphasize on human justice as well, and not only Christian, but also Islamic and Jewish and Hinduist, Buddhist religions also talk about the importance of life itself. And I think that conversates a lot with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where like in the first article, they say that all human beings are born free and equal with dignity and rights. So that also talks how a person from every race or religion or nationality or social status deserves rights. So that itself, for me, indicates that religion is important. Also, I wanted to talk about like partiality and neutrality. I don't believe that science itself it's neutral, or in this case, law also is not neutral, because people who make law, who make international affairs, people who make history, they are not neutral. They have their each backgrounds, and religion definitely affects that. Definitely influence the people's view and people who are making law, for people who are making international law. So for this reason, I truly believe that religion is still important. And for, even though, because I said that, because of bad things that religion brought, that's why it's irrelevant. But I think that's why it's relevant. I think that shows that that people are often motivated, often like often motivated by religion thoughts, and that's why it's really relevant even nowadays for international lawmaking, because when these type of things happen, there are laws that exist to fight against it, or against terrorism, or against violence in general. And yeah, I think that's why I truly believe that religion still is very relevant.
Okay, who would like to ask an extra credit question to Khan? To Isabella? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Okay, Cosette, you can make your rebuttal, and you can share the screen again in case you want to use the screen.
It's okay. I don't need the PowerPoint anymore right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So you mentioned that it wasn't all about like science that wasn't neutral or something. And I think religion does provide like moral guidance, or like in that way, but I don't think that guidance is not enforcement. Law isn't about personal inspiration. It's about collective protection, and you can feel like morally inspired by religion, but you cannot enforce a religious feeling across nations and cultures. That's not law, that's belief. And I think legal systems are built on shared rules and not on personal revelations. So it may shape behavior, but I think that international law needs objective, enforceable standards, ones not open to like interpretation. And also you said like the government or like the systems, they do things against terrorism and stuff, but it's still a big problem in the entirety of Europe. It continues to operate under elevated terror like threat levels, much of it tied to religious extremism. And these are like current headlines. It's not like it happened in the past and they got rid of it now. So if religion truly promoted like peace and morality in law, then we wouldn't see it used to like justify like, I don't know, like bombing, shootings, like, or hate crimes or something. So, but like I mentioned before, I don't think that religion itself is the problem. It's just like the inconsistency and the subjectivity, and I don't think that law can afford that. So I don't think it's enough. Like religion may guide individuals, but it's not enough to build or justify international law. Yes.
Okay. Questions? Anybody else want to ask an extra credit question? You can raise your hand or just speak up. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, Isabella, you can make your rebuttal and conclusion.
Okay, so I think we actually agree. I actually agree with religion. Like law shouldn't be based on religion because it's the ecosystem. I agree with that. But I think I don't think we can oversee the importance of it. And also I believe also that reason and religion are not mutually exclusive. Given that, as I said before, many modern women rights are influenced and inspired by religions, traditions, and religions moral, ethical frameworks. And I think that ignoring a religion's contribution also can be just a bad thing, then will be overlook the history of human rights as well. But yeah, I agree that it's inconsistent, but humans are inconsistent, and religions are still very very relevant in everyone's life, and negatively or positively. So my conclusion is that religion is important, and because it's important for people, and people are the ones who make history, basically.
Okay, questions? Questions? Raise your hand. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, Cosette, you have the final word.
Yes. So I just want to return to today's question: is religion relevant to international law? My answer is still no. It can inspire moral values, but it is also dangerously inconsistent. It's the same sacred text that teaches compassion, that also has been used to justify war crimes, terrorism, and genocide, from the Crusade crisis to today's terror threats in Belgium and beyond. And religion is vulnerable to manipulation. International law, by contrast, must be based on universal, enforceable, and secular principles, and it must treat all people equally, regardless of faith, and protect against injustice and not enable it. So religion is not global, it is not uniform, and it is not consistent. The rule of law cannot afford the subjectivity, the ambiguity, or the theological interpretation. It needs clarity, it needs justice, grounded not in belief, but in shared human rights. And we do not build legal systems on what people believe, we build them on what we can prove, enforce, and apply equally. So while religion may remain spiritually meaningful for many people, it is legally irrelevant to the framework of international justice. So for that, I am still pro on the matter. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, then before I forget, let me then go, let's share the screen for Cyber Campus, and we go to, did I not have that open? Let me see, Cyber Campus, that's right, I forgot to follow my own rules here, and open up Cyber Campus, and then go to Zoom, and then go to share, and there it is, yeah, there it is, so we go here, and that's it. Okay, so then let me go back to the class here, and I have to probably log in again. And so we go to, oh, all right, it worked. Okay, so we go to attend. Oh, by the way, so of course, please vote on the debate. And of course, you can see the voting on the debate here at the bottom. And also, before I forget, let's do the attendance. So the attendance is here, and we are in week 14, of course, and your smart attendance number is 484. 484 is your smart attendance number. So, and it is main chat. So 484, 484, like that. Okay. And okay, so Oh, right. And yeah, different ways to look at this. In terms of the Martin's Clause I already mentioned, religion obviously is something that we inherit, and that has played an important role in shaping our ethical development and ethical argumentation over the generations to shape at least the symbols we have in our heads about what's right and wrong, good and bad, and so on. The institutional manifestations of religious belief, which, how do you define what religion is? If it's religion is belief in miracles. I mean, for example, that's what the charismatic movement in the United States is. Basically, those people who are charismatic evangelical Christians, they believe in miracles. And so, if you believe in basically a supernatural power that is as an authority, I mean, of course, aside from whether or not that actually exists or not, if people, one of the aspects of faith is you can understand faith as being basically a source of political strength. In insofar as if you have a faith and you believe that you're right, and that means you don't have to uh, think about that anymore because you have faith that is right. Then you might have a mobilizational advantage over your political opponents on a collective level. I think I mentioned in my comments on your paragraphs that one way to understand the role of religion. Of course, I have a PowerPoint presentation prepared for this regarding the role of religion in and the rise of nationalism. Is that we see the emergence of Christian militant political religious movements that you can understand them as basically reflecting and understanding that your belief in the existence of religious community beliefs corresponds also with your belief in the existence of what's necessary for the well-being of the nation. So the polarization element is important because there's going to be strong elements within society that find that notion that a good American, for example, is a conservative evangelical Christian, and therefore, if you don't adhere to principles like, for example, that abortion should be illegal, you're not a good American. You might even be a source of decadence and decay within America. Those two groups that disagree, that you also have American nationalists who are secular, they're going to dislike each other. So the reason I mention this is because this is a cause of the polarization in not only in American society, but like, for example, in Polish society, those who are in the European politics and society class, you can say that both the liberals and conservatives are both intense Polish nationalists, but what characterizes the conservatives is that they also have a primary self-identification with the community of Catholic Polish believers. And so it's human nature to believe that there's not a conflict between my multiple values that I have, including my identity values and other values, which I'll talk about later, right? And so I want to believe that there's not a conflict between being a good Pole and being a good Catholic, a good Polish Catholic. And in fact, that they go together, that a good Pole wants to defend Poland's sovereignty, Poland's independence, Poland's prosperity, Poland's power, is also committed to, abortion being illegal, marriage only between a man and a woman. And whereas liberals are going to view religion more as a dogma, as a personal life choice, but both will fight over control over the state, right? If only, for example, in the liberal point of view, is to keep the conservatives from getting control of the state because they're going to use the state to implement their religious beliefs and really have an emotional commitment to that, right? And so they're going to dislike each other. And in the most intense cases, this can get to the level of violence. And so you see this kind of polarization emerging, particularly, like, for example, in the Middle Eastern countries, right? In Muslim countries, is that this polarization, for example, in Iran, between Iranian nationalists who are secular and Iranian nationalists who are religious. And And an Iranian nationalist who's religious believes that helping other Muslims in Palestine against Israel is not only a Muslim obligation, it's necessary for Iran. It's necessary for the sovereignty and power and independence and security of Iran, that Iran must make sacrifices to defend the Palestinians far away in Palestine against Israeli oppression. And you must pay the price to do that, because in the long term, if you don't pay that price, you're gonna suffer. You're gonna pay. Whereas a secular Iranian might feel bad about what's going on to the Palestinians, Muslim Palestinians in Gaza. They're going to feel bad about it, but they don't want to pay the price of fighting the Americans and the Israelis over that. You're going to pay a price, economic and potentially and political, as well as military potentially. And so they're not going to like each other, because they don't want to sacrifice, as their understanding, the well-being of Iran in that case. Okay, that's it for our short class today. Do you have any questions? And if not, I got who asked the questions, so I'll write that down. So I'll see you next week in my office, okay? Bye.
Thank you.